Hey there! One way to see rapid growth in your technique is to occasionally challenge a certain aspect of that technique. In this video, we're going to take a look at a simple and effective way of challenging certain aspects of your alternate picking technique to see those kind of gains. So let's check it out. So the basic idea here is actually quite simple, and it comes down to one basic principle. If you can play repetitive things that have an odd number of notes, then you're going to be challenging your picking in terms of the direction in which you initiate your initial first stroke. So for example, if you had a basic line like this, it's just 3 note per string, in this case E minor, lick, that's going to go like this, where we have G on the 12th fret, 3rd string, F sharp on the 11th fret, 3rd string, E on the 9th fret, 3rd string, and we're going to play those notes 2 times in a row. Obviously the picking there is going to be down, up, down, up, down, up. Then we're going to go to the D string, the 4th string, and we're going to play 12, 10, 9, and that's going to give us D, C, and B. We're only going to do it 1 time. And we're going to repeat it. Now, if we're doing 6 notes on this string and 3 on this string, obviously we end up with 9, an odd number. When you go to repeat this, your picking is then going to start on an upstroke by default. So if we walk our way through round number 1, you're going to have down, up, down, up, down, up. We just ended on an up on the 3rd string, so that means we're going to go to the D string for down, up, down, ending on a down. Now, that means that when we go to repeat this 9-note figure, we're going to end up starting on an up. Unless you're an economy picker where you can afford to go down, down, this method won't really apply to that. So this is strictly for alternate picking in this case. So now upon repeat, like I said, we start on an up, up, down, up. So we end up having to play the same figure with the same intensity and the same clarity and articulation, but because you're starting on the opposite stroke, that becomes challenging to do at any sort of real tempo. So the initial exercise here was just playing that 9-note figure twice. Now it ended up being 6 notes shy of a complete bar. So what I did there is just play each string set 1 time each. 12, 11, 9 on the 3rd string, and 12, 10, 9 on the 4th string, 1 time to kind of hit the reset button. So the whole first round of this is going to sound like this. And you end up with a pretty interesting figure rhythmically. When you get to speeding it up a little bit, you'll hear its more interesting contour. It's pretty interesting. It's got a cool snap to it. If we were to take that idea and move it to maybe another type of lick, you might come up with something like this. I'm going to use the exact same notes. We're just going to play a different phrase using them. Here's one where the odd number of notes comes in to play with a little bit of a rhythmic hiccup, I guess you could say. Here's the lick I'm thinking of slow. So we're playing the 9, 10, 12, or the B, C, and D on the D string. Then we're going to jump to the 3rd string. We're going to play the E at the 9th fret, the 12th fret G, and from the G we're going to do a quicker rhythmic thing here where we're playing G, F sharp, right back to E. Right? So if you were thinking of this as 8th notes, let's say, then you're looking at a few 16th notes thrown in there, 2 of them in particular, the G sharp and the F. If you're thinking of this in more of a 16th note perspective, then these 2 would probably be 32nd notes, potentially a 16th note triplet. And then we're going to end by going back to the D string, doing 12 and 10, or D and C. So the whole figure one time is this. So even though it's not an odd number of notes in terms of it being like an odd time signature, it's strictly a 4/4 time thing here, those two faster notes actually throw things off a little bit. We end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Again, another 9-note figure. I did not do that on purpose. Well, I guess I did. But with a lick like that, you end up with the same principle. You end up with starting on a downstroke, upstroke. Now the goal here, in this particular case, is to make both versions of it sound and feel the same, which is actually quite an interesting challenge. Because even the fast part starts on an opposite stroke every other time. And I don't know about you, but for me, I prefer to do quicker little bursts like that, starting with a down. That's kind of, the default comfort zone for me. But every other time have to do it with an up, initiate it with an up. I have to be very careful, and I'll tell you what I'm most cautious of. That is that is the pick depth gauging of that. If I'm coming at that upstroke a little too deep, it kind of falls apart. So I'm really, really cautious about being, just skating over the very tip of the string. Well, the surface of the string with the tip of the pick. So if I'm really cognizant of that, I tend to be able to play it a lot more smoothly. So this idea you can take and expand upon it, any odd note figure. The basic principle here is that it's easier to come up with if it's repetitive, so you're playing the same notes over and over and over again, but there ends up being an odd number of notes. Any odd number. It could be 3, for even something like that, where it's 2 notes on one string and 1 on the next string, but trying to get it to sound the same and feel the same is a way to challenge your picking hand. There's other ways to challenge it. You can play certain notes louder, you can accent certain notes, you could string skip, you could do a ton of different things, but this one particular area I found has been really helpful with getting out of a rut, and sort of like, it just feels like there's more growth in the picking overall when I do this. I won't do it every day necessarily. I'll do it here and there. I'll prescribe it. In other words, when I feel like, I could use a little boost, then I'll spend a few minutes, I'll work on something like this, and it almost inevitably gets me out of a rut every single time. So check it out and let me know what you think.